Welcome to episode 6 of the NBA Breakdown Show. I'm your host, Coach Gibson Pyper. In today's episode, we are going to look at a couple of questions that I got, the results from last night's games, as well as a preview of tonight's games. And then I break down the Nets and the Pistons in depth and look at how the Nets really destroyed the Pistons. The first question we have is from JoJo. Talking about Brett Brown and how well he's integrated Butler and Harris into the lineup. I agree there are some times where they're kind of standing on the perimeter often, but at the same time, what else are they going to do? You have Ben Simmons out there. Spacing can get cramped real quick. I don't think that Butler running the point guard on the second unit would be very efficient offense. Like, I don't think of him as a player that's going to carry an offensive team, and I think TJ McConnell is fine for that role right now in the regular season. Playoffs, it depends. You're not going to play him 35 minutes a game. I think he plays a role and is a solid backup point guard for what they're doing. He'll at least have more playmaking creation than Jimmy Butler, and he'll have, you can get the ball and run the offense through Jimmy Butler, as in like have him isolate or take the majority of the shots on the bench. But as far as in their best like 5-man lineups, somebody's got to stand somewhere, and Butler's going to have to stand on the perimeter and at least have some sort of spacing or resembling trying to space the floor. Tobias Harris I think is a natural fit. Butler's a little bit of a weird fit, but he's just so competitive, and he is a guy that can go get you a bucket. I think he's going to be extremely important in their playoff run. The next question is from @TalkingSixers76 on Twitter about me charting, and that I had charted the 76ers game from yesterday's breakdown. Here's an example of how I charted that game. Now, this is how I just do it for my own memory. I have the action, the result, any notes, whatever type of defense that was run, and then notes on the defense. So you can see the first one, elbow strong, high low. It was a goaltending. The Pacers defense was a hedge and recover. They strung out the pick and roll. Just for my own kind of memory's sake, and just kind of looking at different things, you can see what they did, what they didn't do, how they defended it, and that you can see kind of patterns will develop if you chart that stuff out. And I know some people do like advanced charting with graphs and things like that. I don't know how to do any of that, and I haven't learned that yet. I think it'd be cool to learn, but not really something that's in my wheelhouse right now. So that's how I chart games for like NBA and sometimes college and my high school teams too as well. The Raptors lost to the Cavs 126-101. I had not had a chance to watch this game in depth, but I can tell you that the biggest difference in this game was basically the Cavs going 18 of 41 from 3 and the Raptors going 10 of 38. You make 8 more threes than your opponent. That's how you win by 25. Colin Sexton had 28 points. Kevin Love had 16 points, 18 rebounds. And from the looks of it, it really looked like the Cavs kind of stretched it out at the end of the third quarter, early fourth quarter. And also Ibaka and Chris obviously got into that altercation and that ejection. But really good to see Colin Sexton kind of coming into his own here and playing better as of late, as most rookie point guards do, kind of improving over the course of the season. Like, we see Trae Young kind of, rising to a different level as well. So that's great to see. And I'll probably break this game down tomorrow in some fashion. Maybe I'll do like a quick hitter Twitter breakdown, and did not mean to rhyme that, but and look at maybe some of like the key plays down the stretch and things like that. The next game we're going to look at is the Wizards versus the Kings. Wizards beat the Kings 121-115. Effectively, I think, putting the Kings out of the playoffs for sure. It was always looking like a real possibility that, they weren't going to make it. One of the things that kind of stood out to me just going through some of the stats and watching a little bit of film on this game was the Wizards, Beal was just unbelievable. Ever since John Wall went out, he's obviously reached a new level, but his ability to just kind of take over, I think he had 28, 9, and 9 in this game, and really just gave the Kings all sorts of problems. He's looking really explosive. I feel like maybe last year he wasn't looking as explosive as he is this year, even this late. Looks like he's in great shape, And his what's really kind of impressed me anyways is his playmaking over the last, I think, like 10, 12 games. To me, has really looked like he's trying to create for others more and get others involved. I think the trade for Portis and Jabari Parker actually worked out really well for the Wizards. They have the ninth ranked offense in the NBA as far as efficiency goes, which I did not expect. But they're playing smaller lineups and spreading the floor out more and getting more cutting actions off of it. For Sacramento, man, they took 26 mid-rangers and 26 threes. From mid-range, they were 6 of 26 from mid-range and 9 of 26 from three. Like you have a coach who is progressive, but really clearly isn't enforcing it. Maybe it's just late in the season and you just let guys take what they want. But I feel like Harrison Barnes has a big part in that, where that's too many mid-range shots. It just is. If you're not going to take up a lot more threes, you have to be able to generate more threes. They only took 2 corner threes this game, and that's just not going to get it done against a team like Washington, who is taking more and more threes per game as the season goes along. And now the Rockets beat the Hornets 118-106. Game was never really close. You felt like at some point the Hornets may have had a run on them, but nothing really came about, and really thought that there was the score was ever in danger. One of the things that, if you aren't going to switch against the Rockets and hope and dare Harden to miss, basically, you're gonna lose. that's really what it comes down to. If you're gonna try to defend them in their actions and their pick and roll game, and try to either hedge or trap or try to do anything differently, really, other than switch, the Rockets are going to make you pay. Chris Paul and James Harden are surgical in their pick and roll, reading the game, the coverages that you throw at them. And then even if you don't run pick and roll and you're trapping James Harden getting out of his hands, he's got the ability to go one-on-one against anybody in the world, and it just doesn't matter. And the Hornets were a little short-handed tonight. They're missing Batum and Kid Gilchrist, and I think Zeller was out too. But Kemba goes for 40, and it just never felt like it was even really going to be a game. Just because you run traditional pick and roll defense against the Rockets, they're going to kill you with their ball movement. They're playing the best basketball of the season. Feels like they're peaking at the right time and kind of figuring out who they are this year finally, and just really look connected on defense, especially. Just their ability to have a little bit more switching and more discipline overall, combined with the fact that Harden's been absolutely fantastic. Let's move on to Oklahoma City beating Utah 98-89. This felt like just one of those Utah games where it was never gonna happen and kind of come full circle. They have the lapses where they can't really guard anybody and they have trouble scoring, and that's how you lose basketball games. And this is one of those weird games where Schroeder comes alive, and scores as a leading scorer in 30 minutes of play. And Paul George struggled a little bit, but Paul George was an absolute monster defensively and playmaking, and just kind of being able to kind of control the game from afar. I know he's dealing with that shoulder issue, so don't know if that came into play at all, which is some of his struggles offensively. But Joe Ingles goes 1 of 7 from 3. Cal Korver 0 of 3 from 3. Jay Crowder 2 of 8. You're not going to win many games if your supporting cast isn't going to help you out with that. And you shoot 13 of 43 from 3. And then combine that with the fact that OKC gets a great Schroeder game off the bench. And really it just seems like they always get up for whenever they play Utah. Russ certainly, I think, has a chip on his shoulder whenever he plays against Utah. And really, I think the Thunder were trying to make a little bit of a statement almost. And their defense and Steven Adams was great as usual. And when their defense gets good, they get out in transition, they get out running, and they cause problems for other teams. And finally, the Clippers absolutely waxed the Celtics. And it was really weird watching this game. Like it felt like the Clippers were playing well. It felt like the Celtics were actually playing pretty well and hard. Like it didn't seem like the weird Celtics games early in the year where they just weren't putting it together and weren't as connected defensively and just looked like they didn't even want to be in the game. at times, and that didn't look like it this year or in this game. I mean, it looked like they are actually giving all their effort, trying, and I thought they played a good game. And you look up, and the Clippers are up 10, the Clippers are up 12, the Clippers are up 8, and one of the big keys obviously was Lou Williams kind of going off for 34 off the bench on 20 shots. That's just amazing. 14 to 20 from the field is ridiculous. And it just didn't seem like the Celtics were ever going to be in the game, it was just weird. But I thought the Celtics play well. The Clippers play well. Doc Rivers is doing a fantastic job. They're going to probably make the playoffs this year. I mean, it's almost for sure now, but they're tough. They play defense. They're a good size matchup. They can play small. They can play big, and they're just actually a lot of fun to watch and watch them play for each other. So I don't think this is anything to think about or talk about for Boston. I think it's just a move on time, and then you go on to the next game and try to win that one. But looks more and more like Boston's going to be stuck in that 4 and 5 seed, and we'll look at the standings now. So in the East, we still have Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia, Indiana, Boston as the 1 through 5. The biggest change was Brooklyn now bounces up to 6, which is where you want, if you're Brooklyn, that's where you want to be. So you match up with the 76ers, and you don't have to play Toronto or Milwaukee till at least the second round. And with Charlotte losing to Houston, that drops them back even further, 2.5 out of Miami now for the A seed. Now let's go to the West. Golden State is still number 1, Denver number 2, Houston at 3, OKC at 4, Portland 5. The Clippers are now at 6, San Antonio 7, and the Utah Jazz are at 8. So as of right now, the Utah Jazz would be playing the Golden State Warriors in the first round, and that would be a heck of a matchup in the first round for the Warriors to have to go to battle Utah for 5 or 6 games and then go on to the second round. That would be rough. Whereas if you think the Clippers or San Antonio in the first round for them would be much easier and something they would probably look forward to. So we'll keep an eye on that. And Sacramento's now 4 games back of Utah after they lost today to the Washington Wizards. So looking ahead to tonight's games, Pacers and Knicks at 7, Cavs and 76ers at 7, Lakers and Bulls at 8. Don't care about any of those games. Now that I say that, like the Lakers-Chicago will be a really good game or something. The Bucks play the Pelicans. That could be interesting. Spurs and Mavericks on TNT. Not that excited about that. Minnesota versus Denver will be a decent game. I'm really excited about the Portland Trailblazers and Los Angeles Clippers. That's probably the game that I'll end up breaking down, which means I'll be up till like 4 in the morning because I'm on the East Coast, and turn 30 games on the East Coast really stink to break down. But that's seems like the most likely candidate. Maybe I'll do like an NBA hop around where I kind of go over, like watch 30 minutes of each game and kind of go over what I saw, what I took away from each one, maybe some lessons learned, and go from there. Let me know your guys' thoughts if you're excited about any of these games or if you want to see any of these games broken down. Now let's get into the breakdown of the Pistons and Nets. Now, I didn't forget about the Nets and the Pistons. This is one of the games that I wanted to focus on. And one of the big things early on that stood out to me, and the question that I had going into the game was how Kurucs or whoever else on, DeMar Carroll, whoever else on Brooklyn was going to be able to guard Blake Griffin, because I think he posed a little bit of a mismatch problem. Turned out it was basically who could guard Kurucs and who could guard the Nets on the other end, because Kurucs really impressed me with how he's able to guard Blake Griffin, but his activity early on, his ability to be active, making cuts, making steals for dunks and really pressuring the Pistons and always just kind of being active. He really stood out to me. His ability to have that size and switchability, but shoot the 3, and his activity defensively was just awesome. Now, the Nets, in my opinion, put on a little bit of a display of like, this is how you're supposed to play basketball, right? This is how basketball should be played. And I cannot give Kenny Atkinson enough credit and how impressed I am with his coaching, just everything that he's done from skill development to X's and O's. They play that 2-3 zone that they played it more than anybody else in the NBA, or at least a zone, not just 2-3, like the Heat play a 1-2-2. But they play a 2-3 zone in different scenarios and different situations. After free throws, they go to a 2-3 zone. After timeouts, they go to a 2-3 zone. Sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds. They really make you think and prepare for what they're going to be doing. Now, will that have success in the playoffs? I don't know. I'm sure it will at some point, but you got to think over the course of let's say it's a 7-game series in the first round. You got to think after the 4th game, you've seen that zone for 4 straight games. Every now and then you're prepared for it. You have sets, you have concepts, you have a day of prep in between. You see what worked, you see what didn't work. You can make adjustments as a staff to what they're doing defensively. But in the regular season, it's great because teams aren't as focused. They may be coming off a back-to-back. They may run a couple of zone concepts and then default back into whatever they try to normally run in their motion. It just throws teams off, especially after a timeout where we see so many effective sets that can really hurt teams. Now coaches may draw up a play for a zone and Brooklyn's in man, or they may drop a play for a man and Brooklyn's in zone. It's just extremely, extremely effective. A big part of why it works is because of how active Brooklyn is, how active the players are. You're going to see they'll give up open threes, they'll give up open shots. But even if the players are open, let's say, Kennard and Blake Griffin and Wayne Ellington are open, the closeouts by the Nets, forcing them to either think about the shot or, force them to put it on the floor or make an extra pass. It just forces the team to do something that they don't want to do. And one of the things that I absolutely love is how it fits right into their drop ball screen coverage, where they basically force you to play inside the 3-point line and then not at the rim, keeping Jarrett Allen off the play, like a player like Andre Drummond or Zaza Pachulia. They just drop them, but that flows right in with their 2-3 zone, because when the zone happens, you're going to see them force players inside. Jarrett Allen's already inside, and it's very, very good continuity that flows right in what their main ball screen defensive philosophy is. I did break this game down in my film room for Patreon, but here is the last 5 minutes of the second quarter, where the Nets really turned up and went from a 12 to 13, 14-point game to having it be a 20-point game and really helping them seal the victory. 40-28 still. The Nets are still winning. Drag ball screen from Drummond. The Nets go under and allow Ish Smith to do what he wants. Kurucs does a good job getting his hands on it, a steal and a dunk. So you can see on this drag ball screen here, D'Angelo Russell's going to go under, and what you want to make sure when you go under is you actually beat the defender or the offensive player to the spot. So he still beats him to the spot, keeps his hands up, forces a pass out. Kurucs does a good job deflecting it, getting his hand on it, tipping it basically out to himself, and then finishing with a dunk to put the Nets up 14. So coming back down after that transition bucket steal for the Nets, another inverted ball screen. Kurucs does a good job staying attached. We get a 4-5 ball screen on the sideline. Allen does a good job getting his hands on the deflection, but ends up falling for the pump fake and getting fouled. So you can see Allen does a good job getting his hand on the ball, falls right back to Blake Griffin. Blake does a good job pump faking, and I just said Jarrett Allen did a good job for not jumping. Well, this time he jumped, and he ends up fouling Blake Griffin, and Griffin goes to the free throw line. Knocks him down both. Little strong action here for Allen Crabbe. Kurucs knocks down the 3 because Blake Griffin decided he wasn't going to guard him. So Blake Griffin, you can see, is sagging off here. Kurucs just he shows the ball. He's like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and shoot this open 3, and knocks it down. I love Kurucs. I love his game so much. I think he might be my new favorite NBA player. I don't know. But I really like his game, and I like how his game's translated from Europe. Now Brooklyn, after this, goes into their 2-3 zone, and what you can see on the sideline is, it's hard to tell here, but Kenny Atkinson has 2 fists up, so double fist. That's their signal for their 2-3 zone. So they go 2-3 zone here, and really kind of mixing up the defenses against the Pistons. And they post up Blake Griffin, foul on Dinwiddie, even though it wasn't really a foul. Blake Griffin's face just ran into his arm. But after the free throws, Blake Griffin knocks down to keep the Nets up 13. We get a little spread ball screen. Ish Smith's guarding Dinwiddie one-on-one. Dinwiddie's got the size advantage, goes through contact and finishes the basket and goes to the free throw line. And again, we have the Nets in their double fist in their zone. Allow the middle penetration, allow the pull-up. That's the main philosophy behind this. Little 4-5 pick and roll at the top for the Pistons. We hit Drummond on the roll. Good job by Crabbe on the weak side digging in. So we can see here, we get the Nets reset in their 2-3 zone. Good talking there by LeVert and Dinwiddie to bump him down. We get this 4-5 pick and roll, a dig inside by LeVert. Jared Allen stays at home. Now you think here, right, Drummond's open on the roll, but he doesn't really catch it cleanly, and Crabbe digs inside, gets a hand on it, and the Nets get the ball back. We get a early pass ahead to LeVert, who drives in and throws the ball out of bounds. Probably could have been an offensive foul, should have been an offensive foul, went elbow to the face of Griffin. But Nets still in their 2-3 zone, not allowing anything easy. I like how they stunt and recover and they bump down and really kind of communicate. It's basically a matchup zone, and it creates a lot of problems for teams. Even with Kennard and Ellington on the floor, the Nets have had pretty much success. I mean, that's a crossover long two that the Nets are wanting them to shoot. Nets come back down in transition. Little spread ball screen with Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie comes off it, attacks downhill, goes inside hand and finishes the layup. I really love Dinwiddie, how he does this. He's going to set up the change of ball screen here, get downhill. He snakes inside just a little bit, right, just to get Drummond to going back to Drummond's left, then crosses back over and rips through to keep it strong, right? That's that hard and rip through. Then when he rips through, he's able to go up, and I'll slow this down. He's able to go up and be able to protect the ball at the same time. So when he rips through, he protects the ball to his left and then goes right hand, inside hand layup. I really like that crafty move by Dinwiddie, and I really like how he sprints back here in transition to recover too. That's just, showing your teammates that you're here to work just as much as they are. Little 4-5 pick and roll in the Nets zone again. Blake Griffin spins in the middle and misses. So you can see the top here, the zone, little 4-5 pick and roll, but it's pretty easy to defend. They just go under it, right? And Jared Allen's posted up inside. So Blake Griffin's got to spin through two people. Allen does a good job staying vertical, giving him a little bit of contact, letting him know is there. Kick early to Crabbe, who hits LeVert. Could have gotten fouled, but Allen fouls through on the offensive rebound. What is weird here is how late Drummond and Griffin are to get into this play. So here you can see Drummond, I don't know what he's even doing, but Drummond is basically like going to take this pass away and backpedaling slowly, and then a few seconds go by and he's nowhere near to be seen, just kind of jogging in the frame. Now, that's how you lose games by 20, is those effort and those kind of plays right there. So we can see the Pistons coming back down. Nets are still in their zone. Why wouldn't they be? It's been really effective. Pistons look like they're running kind of like side dribble handoff action. It's not really going to work against the zone. Blake Griffin, ISO 3, that might work against the zone, but you know how many of those you're going to end up hitting. Nets coming back down, running that 21 action again, chasing into a ball screen. LeVert does a good job getting inside and hitting the floater. That's really good stuff. Very similar to what Dinwiddie just did. So we'll slow this down again too. So after the 21 action, we see the ice of the ball screen here with Ellington and Drummond. LeVert hits him with an in and out and gets Drummond kind of backpedaling, moving side to side. LeVert's going to rip through left or right to left, protect the ball, and then go up and finish with a floater. And just a really good move and really silky smooth from LeVert there. That keeps the Nets lead up 54-35. We get the Nets coming back down in their 2-3 zone. Kurucs does a good job recovering on Blake Griffin. Then gets another tip and another steal and another dunk to put the Nets up 21, 56-35. Nets are still in their 2-3 zone. Looking to maybe get a post-up action for Blake Griffin here against Crabbe. Nothing's there. Hit Drummond in the high post, attacking Jared Allen one-on-one. Kurucs does a good job help in the gap, and then Jared Allen doesn't foul Drummond. So here we see we're going to hit Drummond in the middle here. What I like about Kurucs is how he comes from the blind side. So again, we see the back of Drummond's head here. We see Kurucs get in with a dig and basically almost get a jump ball, tie up Drummond. Then Jared Allen goes straight up and doesn't go into him, but then at the end is able to get the block without fouling and allow the Nets to get out in transition. Dinwiddie kicks to Kurucs, who ends up kicking back to Dinwiddie, and we're going to set up a spread ball screen. Jared Allen sets the ball screen. Dinwiddie comes off and drops the hammer and nails a three. So because of the way that their coverage is, right, Drummond's going to drop a little bit. Well, that leaves an uncontested three for Dinwiddie, who knocks it down. Puts the Nets up 59-35 with 38 seconds left to go in the first half. The Pistons roll the ball up the floor, trying to maybe get a 2-for-1 here. The Nets are in that zone. Ish Smith drives, kicks to Kennard. Good closeout by Dinwiddie, and the forced contested two, goes up and misses. So you can see that's what they want, right? Dinwiddie closes out hard, forces Kennard to put in the middle. Kurucs is there, contests it. Don't let Drummond get the rebound, and that's how you win possessions and win the game. So last second opportunity for the Nets, with Blake Griffin guarding Karis LeVert, because the Nets are playing Kurucs, Dinwiddie, LeVert, and Crabbe, so there's going to be a mismatch somewhere. LeVert isolation up top against Blake Griffin, crosses over, goes inside, and blows right by him for the easy layup, and that's how the Nets basically destroyed the Pistons.